Give me 1 second while my screen share pops up. It's on a little bit of a. Okay. So the first thing that I wanted to share with you guys is my Monday board. I don't know if you're familiar with Monday.com, but it is absolutely my best friend this time of year. Um, this is what we use to manage all of our calls to all of the stores and all of the councils that we're working on. I brought up Central Florida since we were kind of talking at the beginning of the call. So this gives you an idea of what our day-to-day process looks like. You can see that we track each caller that calls on the individual stores. You can see this council, we actually started booking at the beginning of the year. As Ryan said, we booked over 10,000 hours for these guys so far. So during the booking campaign, I know that you're all at different points in this journey. Some councils, we started at the beginning of the year, we're already done booking. Other councils, we have not quite started booking, and there are other councils that we are actively booking. So just a refresher for all of you, as we are booking stores in your council, I will download this into an Excel format, and I try to send it to you every week so that you can have a good idea of what's going on during the calling campaign. You'll be able to see how many hours we're booking, exactly where we're booking them. And if you want to, you're actually able to drill down and you can see the actual conversation notes of what took place when we called and we booked that store. So the next thing that I wanted to kind of briefly touch on is unit communication. A big focus for Trails In this year has been really putting putting the seal back into the council's hands. So in about a week, you guys are going to have a copy of sample emails. We're trying to keep our communication to your units to an absolute minimum. These emails they're very basic and they just explain the storefront management program to your units. It also explains how they're able to claim their shifts, and then it reminds them once shifts have opened up. So these are optional emails. If the council would prefer that these communications come from the council and not from Trails In, that is absolutely 100% okay. Just make sure that you share that information with your sales rep so that we can make sure that we're taking care of things properly on our end. You also have the ability to, you get to decide how you want your hours that we book. You get to decide how you want those to be distributed to your units. Some councils will have a unit that will work a store from sunup to sundown, and they just want to give them the whole day. There's other councils that have more of a competitive situation, or maybe they have limited stores and they don't want to limit it to just one person. So they'll break up the amount of hours that we get in half. So again, it's totally up to the council how you guys would like to have that done. Just make sure that you're communicating that with us so that we can get your shifts entered in accordingly. And most of the time, we are entering these shifts into the system as we are booking them. So if you ever had a question on where we're at and it was in between our updates, you would be able to go in from your council dashboard, run a report, and you could see what storefronts we have booked for you. And later on, you'll actually be able to see how many of your units have signed up for those storefronts that we secured on your behalf. So right now we are taking a look at a demo. This is a demo council, but this is the council dashboard. This is exactly what you guys will see when you guys are logging into the system. From the dashboard, you just need to click on storefront rules. Oh, now I'm gonna have to sign in. Hold on.
Just share with the ladies.
Give me 1 second.
They're warm, but don't wait long.
Okay, so while that is verifying and letting me back into the system, I just wanted to show you guys. So just to get to your storefront rules, it's really easy. You just click on storefront rules. If you want to add a rule, you just go and you click the rule. You are able to add a rule based on either district or the council level. The district level is where I would always recommend that you begin. This gives you the most control. When you set rules at the district level, you can also set how many selections each of your unit kernels can pick. Some people will trickle them out and give them like 1 or 2 in the beginning. I know Chris gave his people like 5 picks at a time. It's up to you, whatever makes sense in your area. But you were able to go in and you were able to set it for, you can set it if they sold a certain amount, or you can set it for all units. So you simply just find a date on the calendar that you want your storefronts to open up. I will say that Trails Inn has the national date, which is the 3rd week in July. But I will warn you that there's going to be a lot of traffic on the site during that week. I would really recommend that you take a look at releasing your stuff either before or after that date, just to make sure that your users have an optimal experience. Last year, I know that there were some people that because there's so many people trying to click on the same shift at the same time. There were people that thought that they had it and it was still processing. So I would just recommend that you take a look at your calendars and you guys find a date that works really good for your council, maybe your kickoff date. If you've got some trainings, those are also really good times to roll it out. So it's really simple. You guys just come in here, you set whatever your reservation limits are going to be. If you say no, that means that there's going to be no limits. So that's going to kind of open it up to the wild, wild west. So you always want to make sure that you're entering a limit, and then you just come over here and you tell the system how many selections you would like them to have. If you wanted to do it by prior year sale amount, if you have some top sellers that you want to give a little bit of exclusive access, you could do that. You can also just have it set so that it is for all units. So you would just go district by district and then click add all units. And then once you're done, you're able to save the rule. After you have saved rules, you're able to go in and edit them. You can delete them. So if you set something that is just totally crazy, you're able to go and delete it. So go in there and play around with it a little bit, get yourself used to it. And if you have any questions on it, I'm always available to help you guys out. So don't hesitate to reach out on that. And the last thing that I wanted to show you guys today is I just wanted to show you what it looks like on the unit leader side. So when we do open it up and say today is the day that you can go in and your units can select storefronts, they're going to go to the storefront reservation tab. And then this calendar is what's going to indicate to them when we have storefronts that are available. So any date that has that blue storefront icon down in the bottom, it's always going to have a number next to it. And the number is going to indicate how many available storefronts there are that day. So the unit they click on a day, they're able to see the list, they click on reserve, and then the system is going to process that. Once they have reserved a reservation, they can go to their storefront management tab, and then it's available in there. So from here, they can invite their scouts, they can build out their schedule, they can assign inventory, they can do none of that if they don't want to do any of that, but it's all ready and waiting for them just as soon as they click that reservation button. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and toss it on over to Chris, and I will stick around. If anybody has any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them at the end.
Thanks, Becky. Ryan, are you going to share there it goes.
Yep, we'll go through it. So again, Chris is the Director of Field Service in Orlando. He was one of our pilot councils last year. He had 75% claim rate. Chris does a really good job, so I wanted to make sure he tests 4 or 5 best practices for councils, and then he wants to take some of your feedback or questions throughout it. Chris and Becky and myself, obviously, we're available for emails or one-on-one meetings too, if you want to schedule something after. So Chris, I'll start with just a couple basic slides, right? So we all kind of understand the program. Biggest thing is our systems all talk to each other. So whatever Becky puts in speaks to your dashboard, speaks to your unit. Your unit's dashboards this year, they're mobile enabled, so it's easier for your volunteers. As you know, we're going to book your top selling locations, primary locations is what we call them, Lowe's, Walmart's, Kroger's, Publix, and so forth. And, units don't have to spend time booking those stores, and we preload it in, and then it's easily managed, which Becky went over in the unit leader dashboard. So a couple of pictures of the basic stores. And then I'm going to pass this back over to Chris. Chris is going to go over some of these best practices, and I may chime in here and there. So
Sure.
go ahead, Chris.
So good afternoon, everyone. So yeah, like Ryan and Becky both said, we here in Central Florida started, we used this last year and had big success. I know a lot of people were concerned with if we're going to have some of our mega units that usually sell $20,000 or $30,000 a year in popcorn, if they were going to be upset that we were kind of quote unquote taking away some of their spots. But honestly, with simple communication and frequent communication, it seemed to work really well. So communications, we send them out weekly through our Kernel Corner. And if we have any other things, we send it out. Monitoring the system for claimed stores and unclaimed. This is important for the staff advisor, mainly just to see if there's a spot in a part of your council that's not being utilized. Make sure you start targeting them with communication. We make sure our field staff also makes the calls about the stores that aren't being used, again, in the targeted approach, if there's any areas that aren't getting used. And then reach out to the high performing units and see if they can figure it out. If you want to go to the next slide, Ryan. So just constant communication is something that we have found that helps combat any issues or conflicts that happen. The weekly communication, lots of things, pictures of units selling. We're going to get to that in a second. Include sales from a specific unit. We always find that in the reporting, which we'll see that in a second. And then personal stories, we find that you want to make sure there's a hook in everything. We try to do that all the time in every one of our communication every single week, is to have not just one unit or one scout, but the whole unit. This one kind of showcased, we had this one pack, I think it's pack 632, if I'm correct. We're there for 6 hours and they sold $1,350. And so this is actually what we advertised in our weekly communication called the Kernel Corner. So unit leaders could see that'd be a $76.5 an hour for the unit after you take that to the commission, even if the commission was 35%, which I think it was. So it kind of shows that this is working. It helps people open their mind that stuff is working. You can go to the next slide. Moving forward, every single week, we also put the top 10 units. Everyone wants to be on the top 10 list. And we get this, as you can see right here, where it says in popcorn ordered from the actual system. We tell them this is the actual sales system where we get this number because we want them to utilize the system itself. Ryan, I forget, how much did Central Florida utilize the system for the sales? You used to know that number in terms of like.
Definitely an over 92%, right? So a majority of your units and your scouts use the technology.
So they use the technology, which allows me and the executives to also make sure, but most importantly, the district colonels and the unit colonels to make sure that they have the resources needed. In addition, one of the things we also did is a mini sale. So if you look at the right on the screen, it says white cheddar. We actually gave each scout the scout with the top 5 scouts in the council got $125, $100, $75, $50, $25 Amazon gift card if they had the most sales of those products in the month of October. This actually generated an additional $45,000 in sales just in that month. So the only sales that counted were literally in the month of October. In Central Florida, we're a little different because we start so early. We started our campaign, literally people started signing up for popcorn on Thursday, this past Thursday. And when we opened up the signups, the 10,000 hours that Becky talked about that's already been booked, we opened up those signups for units to start scheduling the pre-scheduled or pre-selected storefront sales, and we already have 2,800 hours booked. So almost 30% of all of our storefronts are already booked in less than 4 days. So it's constantly happening. Our units seem to like it, and like Ryan talked about, we had a very high usage rate last year. Over 75 to 80% of our units used this function. So
yeah, great points, Chris. And the last chance sale with those specific products, we really targeted show and sell shifts that time of year that just weren't being booked. And we reached out to specific units and said, hey, if you sell outside of here, this is another incentive for your scouts and so forth. So we saw some success, right? So yeah, definitely something that was a neat program that Orlando did, and just the weekly communication.
That's my last slide, isn't it? This is cool because this is where you can find, I don't know if Becky or Ryan, you're going to talk about this, or if I can, into the report master list, you can literally, I just looked at ours. That's why I knew that we had over almost 30%. But in the on the left-hand side, you can find this, and for the storefront reservations report, it literally will show every single, in an Excel document, every single store shift that Becky and her team have booked is listed there. And we look at it constantly, again, to find communication and target communication for there's holes right now. Like I have a district right now who has only booked a couple of storefront sales, and we were wondering what's going on with that. So the executive and the popcorn kernel are calling all the units just to strategically kind of tackle any issues that we might not be hearing about. So
yeah, for sure. And you guys can see there's a description now. We have too many reports here at Trails End, to be honest, right? So now we wrote a little blurb on which ones, once you pull a report, so that'll help you on everything. But site shift, view all scheduled storefront shifts, and then storefront reservations, the ones that Trails End is booked. So if you look at it, here's some of the data from last year. Chris, go ahead and explain what you look at on this document.
So what you're seeing is this is Challenger District. It's in North Brevard County. Not that that matters, but if you see the site name, it's Ace Hardware. Aces are a very big seller for popcorn in Central Florida. And these are the different locations from last year that, as you can tell, Pack 488 utilize this somewhat, but a lot of them, so they all, once the pack or the unit picks the site, it shows under where it says reservation, which unit picked it. And we do increments of 4 hours roughly, or morning and afternoon in Central Florida. And they can book the whole day, but it's going to use up 2 shifts. And how we did it was we opened it up to the council wide. We didn't, our VIP units didn't get any extra, but council wide, especially if I would highly consider that if you're doing this for the first time. We didn't put any restrictions in terms of who can pick. I would open it up to the world in a cattle call your first year or first couple of years to get the units working, used to the system itself. But these are the units that picked from Challenger District. So.
Yeah, and we do have the ability this year, because it is the first year, we can partner with your top selling units and already book their locations. Say they have a relationship with the Kroger or the Publix already, we can remove that from the list and be proactive there. So there's other ways we can implement it.
I will say this happened only 3 times last year in all of our thousands of hours of things. We had 2 units. One of the times we had 2 units that literally had nothing to do with Trails End or the system, but they both showed up at the same time and were pretty upset. And they called me, and then I called Ryan or emailed Ryan or Becky, and Becky herself personally called them and took care of everything, even though it was the unit's fault. Not to blame the units, but they were both, one booked it, the other thought they booked it and they didn't. They showed up, but then she went above and beyond in her team to find them a new thing later on in the sale, and it worked out really well from the customer service component. So I will tell you the Trails End customer service side works very well, and it's almost instant. So hats off to Becky and Ryan and the entire team that helps with that, but it does work really well.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Chris. Becky, did you want to talk about that? Do we have a phone number or an email? What's the best source this year? Obviously, we've expanded the program, right? So.
Yes. So I've got Sandra, who is going to be staying on with me, and her and I are both going to be servicing. Last year, we were doing this for 30 councils, and I was able to handle it on my own. But I've got Sandra that will be with me this year. So I will, depending on where you're located, one of us is going to be assigned to you, but I'll make sure that whoever is assigned to you, I mean, you guys are always able to call me, and pretty sure everybody has my phone number, but Ryan and I will make sure definitely by the sale that you do. If you've ever gotten an email from me, that's my cell phone number and my signature line. So put it in your phone, save it. Me and Sandra both actually, we change our work schedules during the sales so that we're not working 7 days a week, but so that we're able to accommodate during the sale on the weekends when issues are coming up. So we've always got somebody. If you have an issue with a unit leader and you would like me to deal with it, calling or texting me is probably the quickest way. We've also got the storefront support email. Again, we have staff that's on call on the weekends that will be checking that. And then we've also got the Facebook group. So whichever one of those avenues works the best. And then obviously, you know, I have some councils that are like with Chris, he's worked with me before and he's like, hey, if I got an issue with my people, I can send them to Becky and she'll take care of it. There are other councils that are very, very protective, that they would rather be the ones that are talking to the units, and maybe they just talk to Ryan and me and we feed the information. So whatever you guys are comfortable with, I can be as hands-on or as hands-off as you would like me to be with your unit leaders.
Yeah, the phone number is definitely a benefit, guys. We've heard that through customer service in the past, having somebody live on the phone, especially Becky or Sandra, who's actually done the booking. It's going to be definitely beneficial. Cool. Go ahead, Chris.
Just my takeaways really is just weekly communications like we talked about. You got to monitor the system. So you need to either have your staff advisor or yourself or whomever, make sure they're monitoring for unclaimed stores. Utilization of the field staff and the district colonels is very important. And then make sure you reach out to your high performing non-selling units and see what's going on. So that's really what it is just communication and inspecting what you expect with both your staff and the volunteers. Their different components in the sale.
Yep, and for Orlando's customer service, we had one email go through the system for a complaint on a store, and the other 3 were phone calls directly to Chris or Chris's staff. And those were all solved, right? So just put that in perspective, over 15,000 hours booked, wasn't a ton of issues. Now it could be different in your service area, but want to show real life examples, right? And then last year, Chris, cattle called, this was the term he used, let all units sign up whenever and however they wanted. And then he's got a couple different, it's more marketing, right? Where he's going to allow 5 shifts at one point, 5 shifts at another. It just builds excitement. So that's more of Orlando's strategy this year. So, great. Hey, kind of a small group here. If you want to utilize the chat for questions, or if you just want to unmute, whatever's easier. And then after that, we are going to do. Thank you for reading my email and attending. We're going to do that $100 gift card to you, whoever wins on my spin to win wheel. A little scouting vibe of Las Vegas area council who did a spin to win last year. So I took that. Should have everybody's name in here that's attended. I'm going to spin it, and whoever gets it's going to get $100 in Amazon from me. But while that goes out, please double check your name is on the list, and then we'll answer some questions before I spin the wheel. So kind of fun. At least I hope it's fun. Cool. Concerns, questions?
Sarah Flaggs here. Quick question.
Yeah.
So I'm on my dashboard or what have you, and I don't see where, I know I'm new, so maybe they're just not uploaded, but like, where do I look? I got Becca's Excel sheet too, but like on my council dashboard, I don't see any of that yet. Is that, should I be seeing it? Am I missing something?
Yours hasn't been entered into the system yet, so give me like a week and then you'll start seeing them entered into the system. So it's just because they're not there yet.
Yep, great. Good question. Want to make sure it works. That's a big question. Okay. Yeah. Anything else?
Yes, this is Warren. I was just curious, what were some of the more helpful limits that you applied when it came to unit registrations? And is there any way I could get a list of those? Just want to be sure that I'm not creating unrealistic things that might fail myself later.
Are you talking about like not having one unit cannibalize and take 100 slots?
Yeah, that, and maybe what's like the magic hour mark, or just different sorts of, I guess, best practices.
I know for here, we kind of found, mainly because of the heat, that units at 4-hour, 5-hour increments are the most, and then they kind of recharge and the next unit can come on in the morning or afternoon just because of the heat. So that's one of the, and then, again, it depends on where you are and what you can do. And if a unit wants to do a full day, then they just use 2 of their slots. So that's what we do with that. And then in terms of how we kind of segregated the sign up timeframes, where the first cattle call to sign up was on Friday, and then the next one is going to be on June 1st for another 5, and then on June 15th it's open up for whatever they want to do. Again, it's a little odd because Central Florida starts a little early for our campaign. Our units will receive their popcorn like the second week of August. So, and then we go through to November.
Thank you.
Yeah, good question. Thanks, Warren. And
Do
also,
we
guys,
have a list?
Oh, go ahead, Bianca.
Maybe a list of generic rules that can be adjusted and adapted
Yeah, we can send out like a how-to guide and with the rules that we can adjust. And then Bianca, you and I will schedule it, make sure it's entered properly and what works for your council. The other thing I
Oh,
wanted
I
to
like
bring up,
how you know me, Ryan.
there you go. The other thing that we're going to do, guys, is when it comes to new units that, you're all trying to sign up more units to the sale, this is a good tool, right? Because you can download that reservation report and make that phone call to a new unit and have them sell at a location, less work for that new unit leader to sell. Some councils are doing consignment where units will return product if it doesn't work well on that weekend. We're confident it's going to sell right. So please reach out to me if you want to kind of outline that program. I really like it. Gives a good reason to call a new unit to recruit them. You're adding a ton of benefits. Show up and sell, right? That's our new strategy. It's easier it is for parents and volunteers and unit leaders, the better. So cool. Becky, anything to add before we do the spin?
No, I have, so for the generic storefront rules, I think it was Bianca that was asking about. I've got like the national rollout. So I'll send that over. And then just you can apply those and pick your own dates and you can kind of play with the numbers, but it'll give you a decent idea of where to start.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Becky. And I know Ryan will help me through it because ours is a little different than I think some other councils as well. So
Cool. Okay, let me spin this while we're here. Everybody check to see if their name is on there, right? Oh, I tried to.
You missed my name, Ryan.
I know. I should have put that. Chris should go get 2 because he was key presented, but. Oh man, Kevin just missed it. It went to Joseph. Joseph or okay. I'll text you, Joseph. Sorry, Kevin. That was pretty anti. Cool. Hey guys, thanks again for attending. Like always, text or call me anytime. Chris is a great resource. Obviously, Becky's a good resource too. Looking forward to the fall campaign. Let me know if you need anything, and I will email this video out probably on YouTube just so you can share it if you want to with some of your staff members. Cool. All right, guys.
Thanks,
thank
everyone.
you.
Yeah. Take care.